Hey everyone, welcome back. As we've been moving through this series together, there's been a consistent thread underneath all of it, understanding what's actually happening in the nervous system and when internal experience starts to feel overwhelming, unpredictable, or hard to regulate. We've looked at how the nervous system and hormones shape baseline regulation. We've explored what happens when the brain becomes overwhelmed and spirals in real time. We've looked at how inherited and ancestral patterns shape the baseline we're operating from long before we ever notice it consciously. And now we're bringing it into something very present tense and very physical because there's another layer most people don't realize is constantly influencing emotional experience. Something that doesn't live in thought first, it lives in the body, specifically the gut. And what we're starting to understand more clearly is that a lot of what people label as emotional instability, anxiety, overwhelm, or even burnout is actually the output of a physiological communication system that is constantly running in the background. Tonight, we're talking about the gut brain axis, how the body and the brain communicate in real time, and how often what we experience emotionally is actually downstream of that communication. And I'm really glad that Dr. Scott is back with us this week because this is very much his lane. And I know he brings a depth here that helps people understand what is actually happening underneath the surface. So let's start here. Dr. Scott, when someone says, okay, but how does the gut brain axis actually impact my nervous system and how I regulate day to day? How are you breaking that down for them?
Um, okay. Simple. I mean, it's a direct connection. I mean,
Okay.
really, it's simple. I mean, it's complex, but simple. It's like, so your brain is connected to your gut via the vagus nerve. And then most people know the vagus nerve is your, well, not everybody would know this, but everybody knows what fight, flight is, right? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Okay. And then the rest and digest. And the vagus nerve is like a majority of your rest and digest and heal and grow and calm and just all those things. Right? So the direct link, literally a highway communication system between your gut and your brain is the vagus nerve. And so again, it's a lot more complicated than that, but the vagus nerve, it communicates, your brain directly communicates with your gut. So if someone's full of anxiety or whatever's going on in the brain is going to impact your gut health. And then also vice versa. So your gut, if you have gut issues, digestion issues, IBS, ulcerative colitis, I mean, all the things that are going on in people's guts, it's directly affecting your brain as well in a lot of different ways. But that sensory input from your gut of what's going on there with inflammation and whatever's going on, because again, there's so many things, that information is then going to your brain and impacting brain chemistry is really kind of the simple way to think of it. But I mean, unless you have other questions
No.
that you wanted me to go deeper.
I'm sure we're going to get into some depth here. Heather, when you hear that explained, like what do you notice people actually experiencing in their day-to-day lives when this system is out of balance?
Well, I can speak from, a little bit more of the medical side of it, but also from the personal experience side too. So not only does the vagus nerve create that pathway between your gut and your brain, but you also have the endocrine system and your immune system and all of these different things. And the vagus fibers, the nerve fibers are actually bringing more information from the gut to the brain than the other way around. So when you have leaky gut or you have, there's a lot of the neurotransmitter and hormonal imbalances that we have, especially through neurodivergence and perimenopause. When you have that come into effect and it affects, how your gut works, a lot of that imbalance is being sent to your brain. So it really does, impact both. It's kind of like a feedback system, right? So it's throwing a lot of things off. And then I know for me personally, I've had gut issues my whole life. I'm ADHD going through perimenopause, which just kind of made it just a whole nother level. I don't want to say worse, it was just a whole new level of trying to deal with this. But like I've noticed that through my life, I had a very difficult time being able to tell when I was hungry. Sometimes I wouldn't eat until I was like,
Mhm.
I felt like my stomach was literally eating itself. And I'm like, oh, I think I might be hungry. Like you miss you miss those. Well, not only that, but
Is,
being
yeah.
distracted and just forgetting to eat, right? So uh, having those imbalances with the gut and the neurotransmitters and the hormones, we have a very difficult, either we're super sensitive to those things or we have a very difficult time being able to differentiate what those triggers are, like that feeling of hunger and things like that. So it's been a ride. It's been
So yeah, executive function plays a huge role. And what I'm understanding is that the system is constantly communicating in the background, and most people only become aware of that when it becomes loud enough to affect their emotional state. Is that what I'm hearing? It's not random at all.
No, it's certainly not random. It affects a lot of things, so it might look differently for different people. But when you break it down to what you're actually experiencing, a lot of it does have to do with um, the imbalances of the hormones and the neurotransmitters, but also just e as equally important, the issues that are going on in your gut, because it really is your second brain. It has its own nervous system. It's called the uh, crap, I can't think what it's called right now. The
Eric.
enteric nervous system. Yeah. So it has its own communication system that's basically doing exactly the same thing the brain does. And then they're in communication with each other as well. So they're equally important when it comes to all of these things that we're experiencing, for sure.
That's why a lot of people I feel like are say, I was fine 1 minute and then suddenly I wasn't, or, my mood just shifted and I don't know why.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that could
there
definitely
there's
play a role.
sometimes, yeah, there's just a something that they're not aware of. It's not where it doesn't start in the emotional state. It starts somewhere else in one of the other systems. Dr. Scott, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean that's all just spot on. It's just the enteric nervous system, yeah, it's called the second brain for a reason because you're processing so much information, everything you're putting in your body, what's going on in your gut directly. Yeah, so like you said, 80% of the signaling along the vagus nerve is from the gut to the brain. So if anybody thinks that, any kind of mental health issues. I don't care if it's anxiety, depression, ADHD, autism, sensory spectrum. I've never had a patient that doesn't have one of those things that does not have gut issues. Like
Right.
it's just
Absolutely.
it doesn't happen. And if they don't have symptoms of gut issues, we run labs and they have gut issues. Like it's just, it's just sometimes people are asymptomatic for a while, but I mean, almost everybody does.
I've
So
not
it's
met
very
one.
important.
I've not met one neurodivergent person that does not have gut issues as well. Not one.
Yeah.
Um, how, Dr. Scott, how do hormonal shifts, especially in perimenopause, influence that gut brain communication loop and the nervous system's ability to regulate?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, so many different ways. I mean, because even before, the shifting in perimenopause when hormones are really changing. I mean, I've probably said this in a past week talk, but hormones, in my opinion, are all just reactive. They're reactive. So even in someone that's 20, 30, 40 before they go into all the shifting in peri and pre and post menopause, it's like the gut again, it's not just the gut because we could talk about the cellular level to mitochondrial function, blah blah blah, but the gut is definitely at the top of the list. Like even when there's gut issues, it's causing this cascade effect in the body where hormones are then reactive. So that can be sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. It can also be thyroid. It can be the HPA axis, cortisol. I mean, just all of this stuff is so intimately connected. And so estrogen, but then you move into, perimenopause and then menopause, postmenopause. Estrogen has I don't think a lot of people probably know this, that estrogen, we kind of all think about certain things when we think about estrogen, but it has a direct protective effect on your gut barrier integrity. Okay, so when estrogen kind of declines naturally, okay, so a lot of, again, when menopause comes around, it declines in perimenopause, the gut lining becomes more susceptible. It actually becomes more permeable. It causes microbiome shifts, so the bacterial, loads in our gut, motility changes. So estrogen is like a super critical hormone for gut health. Okay, and so this is also where, I could go a lot of directions with, but basically the summary is like we didn't always have hormone replacement therapy. Okay,
Right.
so why is it really that we need it that much more now, or is something else shifted? And I think that's the truth. I think hormone replacement therapy is very powerful. We have it, so why not use it? But it's like you really think about it, like what's the roots of why so many women are needing hormone replacement therapy? It's because of the toxic environment we live, because so
Absolutely.
many people have so many issues for so many years that it's like, okay, now our bodies are not resilient enough. We've had gut issues for years, and then the estrogen declines, and now the gut's even worse off. So, that's where hormone replacement therapy, again, is very powerful. I think it's highly recommended for anyone that's going through. Some of the old literature that used to say if people still think that estrogen replacement therapy is harmful or causes cancer. That was debunked back in like 2012, right? So that's old school. Like the research actually, if it's done correctly and it's done, and I always say bioidentically, right, not synthetically, then the research actually shows there's a decreased risk in some of the female hormonal cancers, breast cancer, uterine cancer, things like that. So but
Interesting.
again, I'm kind of going in a lot of tangents here, but really the point is the hormone shifting really has a huge impact on even the gut health, and then it becomes a hamster wheel.
Hmm.
Like it's just a vicious cycle. Hormones are decreasing, gut health gets worse, more leaky gut, which then that's going to feed the brain more, which is going to create more anxiety, depression, mental, whatever's going on in someone, and it just becomes this negative feedback loop that just goes round and around and around unless you take care of it and look at all these things.
So, Heather, when that internal buffering starts changing, what do you see people actually going through emotionally or behaviorally that they don't always connect back to physiology?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like Dr. Scott was talking about, the estrogen levels decrease during perimenopause, and that is, one of the most important things about regulating the diversity and the health of your gut bacteria. So when you think about bloating or diarrhea, constipation, food sensitivities, all of these things that can happen, you have to think about, like, if you're uneducated or don't know that this is what's happening, and you're like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have drank that soda because now I feel really bloated. I know bloating is a big thing, especially during perimenopause and even during your cycle. So if you don't know what is happening physiologically, you could attribute it to the wrong things, and then that affects, your how you view yourself, being comfortable in your own body, because all of these things have negative impacts, right? And lasting impacts, because it's not like perimenopause is over in a week, right? It's lasts
Right.
years. So when you have all of these things happening to you in your body, if you don't know the exact cause, you can really, that guilt, that shame that you're already feeling because of the cycle of life that you're in. But, the body dysmorphia stuff that we talked about before, the rejection sensitivity disorder, like now it's taken on a physical role as well, not just a mental role. And it's really important to know exactly what's happening in your body, both, at the psychological level with the hormones and the neurotransmitters, but also at the physiological level with your gut, because they both play such an important role with what's happening. And again, like, you could be blaming it on something else, and that could take you on a whole nother bout of anxiety or, self-worth issues, things like that. So that education is extremely important. Getting those labs and those tests done, like Dr. Scott was talking about, beyond just, the urine test. If you
So
can.
what I'm hearing is that, this goes for everything that I actually, I'll die on this hill, like, is that nothing is breaking. Like you're not broken, you're not, but the system is just responding differently because the internal environment has changed.
Yes.
That baseline has shifted.
Yeah.
And what used to feel small may now feel amplified,
Mhm.
whether it be externally, not because, someone's unstable of sorts, but because that regulation system itself is operating under different conditions.
Right. And that's what I meant earlier about, this being a whole, not being worse, but just a whole new level because now your
Mhm.
baseline has changed. And most of us, myself included, I was not prepared for this. I heard about menopause. My mom would talk about hot flashes and things like that, but that was about the extent of what I knew. And so having this whole new baseline shift and like Dr. Scott said, the foods that we put into our system, the air that we breathe, the toxins that are in our environment are already changing things. But now you have this other level, these added factors that are now changing everything again. So it's like you have to get used to your body again because so many things are changing. But it is manageable if you know exactly what it is that you're trying to address.
Well, and this has been coming up for me very heavily recently, and I think it's important to mention here. It's not even in my notes, to be honest, but a lot of people struggle with understanding their body or learning how to communicate with their body or what it's trying to communicate to them.
Yes.
Right. So they feel physical discomfort or they have bloating or they have, whatever the case may be, anxiety, depression. But they don't know what the body is communicating underneath that physical discomfort.
Mhm.
And that's something that's really started to become really important to me.
Yeah.
So, something, and this is very much not my lane. So, Dr. Scott, again, I'm glad you're here. Dr. Scott, how would you help your clients understand and distinguish between what system is being activated at the time? Whether that's, I don't know, the can I speak? Physiological standpoint, the gut, the mental, emotionals, the energetic. How do you distinguish which one is actually communicating with you at that present time? Because it's not always going to be like the emotional layer. It's not always going to be the gut. It's not always going to be like, because they're always communicating, but one is going to be louder than the other. So how does someone go about saying, oh, this might be a gut issue, or oh, this might be an emotional thing that I need to heal and release, something like that. Does that make sense?
Maybe. Maybe. Um, let me see, and if I'm not answering what your question, I'm probably just not understanding it fully. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I think the first thing that popped in my mind is like journaling, like trying to like pattern recognition things, I guess. Like so if because let's just take an example. Let's just say nausea. Like somebody's nauseous. Okay, if you get nauseous any kind of frequency, whether it's every day, a couple times a week, okay, when does that happen? Is it always after you eat? Is it always after you eat specific things? Or is it when you're in a higher stress situation? Maybe it's just driving down the highways and you're just like, you don't even realize that you're stressed when you drive. Like, so those are the kind of things like pattern recognition, I think is one of the more important things for people. If you're really like wanting to know, okay, is my upset stomach, my nausea, is it my brain or is it my nervous system or is it actually a stomach problem? Is that kind of what you meant?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that's just one strategy is trying to journal when you sense and feel certain symptoms. I'm sure Heather could probably add a lot to this too, but I will say this, I guess, as well is if there are, and again, I'll just use an example because I could talk about this for hours, is if there are gut issues, okay? If somebody has SIBO, which stands for small intestine bacterial overgrowth, okay? If somebody has low stomach acid, even if somebody has lack of digestive enzyme production, if somebody has bacterial dysbiosis in their gut, in their large intestine, if somebody has leaky gut syndrome. I mean, I could go on, but those are like the big things. There's constant communication to your brain, whether you feel it or not. This is where, like I said, people can be asymptomatic and have severe leaky gut syndrome. Okay. What is leaky gut syndrome? Well, that could be the driver of your autoimmunity. That could be the driver of your food sensitivities. That could be the driver of histamine intolerances. That could be the driver of food allergies. That could be the driver of other allergies. I mean, you kind of get what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
Is like these things are so interconnected. I don't know, like journaling's really great to like kind of figure some things out, but if there are true gut issues, we have to look at them and we have to treat them. Same thing with the brain. I mean, if the nervous system, if we know there's issues there, then we have to work on that too. And this is where I guess when I work with people, it's not one or the other. It is both. It is everything all at once. Not overwhelmingly, but piece by piece, step by step, to make it sustainable for people. But you have to put the puzzle pieces together. And this is, I believe, one of the biggest failures of our healthcare system is we have too many specialists that only look at one part of the body, one organ, one gland, and nobody talks to each other. Nobody's looking at the whole thing. Body, mind, spirit. I think we said that in week one. It's like it's just the truth. It's just fact. I mean, nobody can argue with me. I debate them all day. Body, mind, spirit. Body, mind, spirit. It all affects everything, right? I know you guys aren't going to argue with me, but anyway, that's what I got for that.
Um, so I guess Heather, when someone is in it, like when they're in it, how do they actually describe that experience in real life? Do you see a pattern with people when they're in this space? Do you a commonality of what they're experiencing?
Well, it's hard to answer that question fully because every it looks different for everybody. And until you do what I'm going to recommend here in a moment, which is more of preparatory stuff to help you get through that situation better in the future. But until then, like it can cause a lot of confusion because now, like I said, your baselines are changing. So even if you were aware of how your body felt before, it might be different now. And so what Dr. Scott said about the journaling and pattern recognition is so important. That self-awareness is extremely important, especially in people with neurodivergence, because our systems are already not typical, right? So we
Hmm.
experience things, brain fog, fatigue, like all of these things, cognitive and emotional sensory input, like and output is very different than a neurotypical person. And so we have to, that journaling is a great idea, but being really self-aware and I'm going to go a little more spiritual and energetic on this one, which I've kind of been holding back on in these episodes, but this is where it's going to be really important to rely on your intuition and really being self-aware of your body and listening to it. The journaling, the pattern recognition, 100%, that's part of that. So what I do, like when I'm in pain or I'm experiencing something, I'll actually go into a meditative state and I will essentially channel that pain and be like, what are you here for? What are you doing? How can I help you? What are
Yep.
you trying to teach me? Things like that. So until you get to that point, right? Because you have to be able to
Right.
trust your intuition.
Because not everybody's going to be there.
Right. No, not everybody's going to be. It took me a while to get to that point. But in the beginning, just learning to recognize those patterns and be like, okay, well, when I'm in this, let's take the nausea example that Dr. Scott gave. Okay, is this truly nausea? Did I just experience something emotional? Am I under stress? Do I have a headache? Like, are there other symptoms that are going along with that? And does this nausea feel the same as if it did after I ate something bad? And again, it all comes back to that pattern recognition and that really being self-aware of what your body is exactly trying to tell you because nausea is going to feel different after different things. So being like, yeah, I feel nauseous is one thing, but it feels slightly like a lower frequency, or I don't know how to explain it without using more woo terms here, but I describe things in colors and frequency. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like knowing the
Yes, I do.
knowing those different levels of nausea and what exactly they are associated with, it's again just pattern recognition and really having that self-awareness and listening, learning how to listen to your body, learning what your body is trying to tell you and how to communicate it with it. And that does take a level of intuition as well. So trusting yourself is really important.
So when people start to understand what the body is communicating to them, and it's not just about changing thought patterns, it's about supporting the actual system that is generating the signal.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Where, Dr. Scott, where do you usually begin when when someone is in that psychological activation state? Where do you begin with them?
Clarify that a little bit for me. Like, I guess like if it's a current patient I'm working with, or if it's someone.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Just if somebody comes to you and they are, maybe a little unclear about what their body's trying to tell them, and they're in some of these loops, of maybe not being able to differentiate what's going on inside of them, or, whether they're even entering perimenopause or whatever. They just know something's wrong.
Yeah,
And they
okay.
come to you. Where do you begin with them?
Well, I mean, if it's not like a crisis situation where it's like an emergency, like just, because you go back to I don't remember what weeks, week 1, 2, 3, whenever we were talking about just all the strategies of like
Hmm.
helping someone get out of like maybe crisis situations, that kind of stuff. If it's not that, how I start with people is gosh, I just do a ton of data collection really to start. So just really, whether it's health histories and questionnaires and any lab work they've had done, any doctors they've seen, any specialists, anything at all, anything and everything I take in, and then I just study it all. And so my first, really before I even meet someone, I know a lot about them. Okay. So that's kind of my whole thing is before I meet you as a new patient, I know your story, and then we're going to fill in the gaps when we actually talk. But the first meeting I have with people, I already have an action plan for people. And so most of it's lifestyle type medicine, right? So again, that might be nutritional stuff, it might be nervous system work, all the strategies we've talked about with vagal nerve stimulation, just whatever that person needs, very individualized. And so that gets us a really good start. And so just kind of changing habits and eliminating bad habits and just all of the stuff. But then my work really is fascinating when we dive into the objective analysis, right? So like when we're talking about this specific topic, um, you know, like hormone, if it, I, gosh, guys, I don't remember. I've talked to so many people over the last number of weeks, but it's like, I don't remember if I said this already, but like if someone's just getting hormones run and blood work, they need to go somewhere else and get something more in depth done because it's just scratching the surface, especially if you're on hormone replacement therapy, because you can have either low or high or normal blood marker hormones, and it's not telling you if your body's using them. It's not telling you if the liver and the gut are metabolizing them. So honestly, it can be actually kind of dangerous, right? This is why so many women who are on HRT, like, oh, they had to up my dose again. Oh, or we're playing around with the dosages because they really have no idea what's going on in the body. Okay, so you can do really thorough analysis, but it's not just hormones. It's like, okay, where do we need to start? Is there a lot of gut stuff going on? Okay, we're going to look at the gut with the hormones, okay, because they just play so intricately. Is it the is it the nervous system? Do we need to run more neurotransmitter panels? Is the cellular health a concern of mine, which it always is, by the way, because I don't know if anybody has really great cellular health in our country. So there's tests that we run for that, looking at if the mitochondria are producing enough energy for your body to even be able to make hormones or detoxify hormones. So there's just so many pieces to the puzzle, and of course you can tell I get fired up because it's
Go on, go for it.
everybody's story
I
is
love
so
it.
different. It's like I can run the same labs on all three of us, for example, and it's going to show completely different things. And so then it's coming up with a plan for that person that's going to address what's going on in their body on the physiological and biological, but then also like Heather's saying, like I do a little bit of it, but that's where practitioners like you guys come in. Like if somebody needs a lot of energy work, if they need a therapist, if they need whatever they need, we got to have a team.
Well,
So
absolutely. I think they work great in conjunction with each other. You
100%, they have to, yeah.
know, Heather, I know you wanted to kind of go into a little bit of things that would help stabilize, if that's the right term, stabilize people in that real lived moment, when they are inside of those things, when they're, you know, say their gut is something's going on there, but in the moment they need something a little more stabilizing until they can work through that. Did I
Well, I
say that?
mean, a lot of the stuff that I tell people is preventative stuff because it's hard. It's hard for me to provide an example of what to go through when you're going through nausea. And this is a little bit out of my element because even from personal experience, like I don't handle when my stomach hurts very well. I don't. But it doesn't happen very often. But when I have gut issues outside of just being irregular, which is a lifetime thing, when I'm having gut issues, like you can't tell me anything. It's hard for me. So even through the personal experience part of it, it's difficult for me to say, outside of what we've already talked about, really going within and be like, okay, what is this really trying to tell me? And being aware of what that is. But I kind of handle things from an energetic standpoint more so, which isn't going to help you in the moment, but it could help you, prevent it from happening more often, right? Because everything's energy. So why is this coming up? And this is where that pattern recognition and the journaling and the being aware comes into play as well for the therapy or healing aspect of it. Where did this come from and and because it's more than just perimenopause, it's more than just neurodivergence. They play a role, but there's still also usually an underlying factor because the way you experience perimenopause is going to be different than the way I experience it.
Mhm.
That's just how it is. And
Absolutely.
so there's more factors that go into having those symptoms than just physiological, which is what I know we're talking about today. So I kind of focus on the energetic part of it, but also that preventative part of
So, question, how do you use that preventative method or methods if something's already going on inside, let's say the gut, because that's what we're speaking on, the gut brain axis. So if something's already there and say you're asymptomatic and you don't know it, which a lot of early on, like in childhood up through, maybe even early 20s, a lot of us neurodivergents are probably asymptomatic,
Mhm.
but it's still there. So how are we going to be preventative if it's already something that's present?
Well, that depends. If you want to prevent it in that respect, at least for me, I mean, you can do an energy fields recalibration. You can read the aura. You can see in my woo way if there's something stuck there, if there's something going on there, and there's, energetic healing that you can do, just like Reiki, right? So there's things that you can do to kind of move that stuck energy out of the way, which will help prevent it. But again, there's other aspects that go into energetic healing as well, that integration period that's so important. So it is going to come back down to what food are you putting in your body? Are you setting intentions with your food? Are you cooking food when you're upset or angry because food holds energy? So
Mm-hmm.
there's so many different ways that we bring these things into our body that we can change that are within our control. And I mean, like I think I said this last week, but I bless my food with Gaia energy, source energy, and the rainbow frequency before I put it in my body so that I don't keep having those gut issues. And it really helps if you believe that it's going to work, right? Because that intention is there. But drinking water and staying hydrated, watching the kind of foods you eat. I don't eat ultra processed foods. I eat regularly. I used to eat once a day, and I noticed that, those blood sugar spikes and things like that were a big factor for my gut issues as well. So it's just, again, being self-aware and conscious about what you're putting in your body, what you're thinking about, what you're doing. Are you spending time in nature? Are you getting fresh sunlight, fresh air? So it's kind of all encompassing, right? For the
Yeah,
different things that you can do.
absolutely. Dr. Scott, do you have anything to add?
Um, the gut is just so much more complicated than we give it credit for. I think that people give it credit for. Anybody who knows about the gut knows this, but let me just kind of give some examples because here's what happens, and I see this so often is people, and this is really anybody, but especially in this demographic we're talking about, have tried and try so many things. a lot of people have tried eating healthy and eating clean and eating fermented foods because we hear those are good for you, and we're taking probiotics and these other good supplements, and it's like, but it's frustrating, and people lose hope because nothing really moves the needle. And there's a very specific reason for that, because if something works for you, like taking some probiotics or whatever, you're literally lucky.
Hmm.
The reason I say you're lucky because what probiotic working for you, it's not going to work for your friend that you say, "Oh, this changed my bowel habits or my gut," but it doesn't work for her. It's frustrating. It's like, why? Because everyone is so unique and the gut is
Hmm.
complicated. There are so many different types of probiotics. You don't know what you need unless you test. Like, because you can test what is your microbiome composition? What bacteria are missing? What bacteria are present? Fermented foods, because we all hear those are so good for us, but I tell you, there are so many people that react terribly to fermented foods. They actually exacerbate gut issues, even though they're healthy. But it's like people who have histamine intolerances or a condition called MCAS, stands for mast cell activation syndrome. It's like you can't have a bunch of fermented foods.
I'm
You're gonna
laughing. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I
because
always keep
you've
a jar of
experienced
kim.
that.
Yeah, I always keep I always keep kimchi in my refrigerator. And
Yeah,
whenever I
and it is rare. My point is, it's very great. It's very healthy, but you're guessing. It's a guessing game as far as like what you actually need. In this day and age, I guess it's my opinion, and it's not just because this is what I do every day, but it's just my opinion that it's the investment in working with someone who can like tell you exactly what to do for you is worth gold, your weight in gold.
Yep.
Because otherwise it's just a shotgun approach, and leaky gut syndrome is like a high priority. SIBO, high priority. These are very difficult things. Even with a practitioner who knows what they're doing, SIBO and leaky gut are very hard to treat and to heal from.
Ugh.
So it's like good luck if you try to do that on your own. Like, I mean, I don't want to be like the doomsday guy, but it's just very hard. And so these things, again, when we're talking about body, mind, and all these things and how they're connected, like, I mean, I see it so often where people who are struggling, even with mental health or all these things, it's like they can cross that line and improve so much if you put the whole picture together,
Mhm.
is really what it comes down to. And just the
Absolutely.
guessing game is just tough.
Oh, absolutely. I've been doing it for years. I mean, and for the gut issues anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're right. I do. Like I laugh at the thing because whenever I eat fermented foods, while I love them and I know they're great for me, it sends me straight to the bathroom, you
Yeah,
know?
that's not good. That's not good. And then the other thing is there's a lot of different types, but I run what's called a FIT test. So it stands for food intolerance test. So it's basically a food allergy test, food reaction test. And it blows my mind every time because it's like everybody's different, but you can have someone who's, I have a lot of people that end up when they come to me, they've tried a lot of things. They've maybe even worked with other practitioners in the holistic space and eat clean and eat healthy. And we do food intolerance. And because of their gut issues, because the immune system reactivity issues, whatever it is, leaky gut, I mean, you're going to see I see lists of things that people are the highest reactivity you can get is a +4. So it's basically a 0 to 4 scale. Severe reactions to things like broccoli and asparagus and
Hmm.
blueberries and cauliflower and spinach. And I mean, you name it. It's not just gluten and it's not just dairy and it's
The
not
high
just
fiber
eggs.
foods, yeah.
Like just there's so many things that people and everyone's so different. It's like, man, because you can see a ton of relief with gut issues if you actually even just do that kind of test so you can eliminate all the things that your body's reacting to. But then my question is for people, well, do you want to live the rest of your life just eliminating all of these things? Because it's not normal for you not to be able to eat these things. So let's figure out why you're responding that way to these foods. And usually, if people go through a process and heal their gut, they can implement those foods later on in life.
Would you say it's fair to say that if somebody does not address their gut issues over time, their reactivity to things will evolve, I guess, of sorts, basically. I guess I kind of answered my own question. Like symptoms worsen, so your reactivity to certain things would become worse over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, how much do you, I mean, you guys know people who I hear this all the time. It's like, okay, so I mean, when I was 38 years old, all of a sudden I couldn't eat eggs anymore, or I couldn't eat XYZ, fill in the blank, because it just started giving me gas and upset stomachs. That didn't just happen at 38 years old. This has been a process in your gut going on for a long time, an immune hyperreaction that now it's like to the threshold of, okay, now it's like sending you into the symptom pattern and it's your body's warning lights are going off. But it's something that's been happening for a long time.
over
And so
time.
yeah, these things progress for sure. People end up with more food sensitivities. People end up with more,
Yeah.
allergies environmentally. But then I mentioned earlier, like autoimmunity. Like if you think autoimmunity, oh, I was diagnosed when I was 40 something with this autoimmune condition. That did not just happen when you were 40 and because you're 40. It did not just happen because you're going through perimenopause. It has been happening for probably a decade or longer in most cases. And it's all these underlying things that we're talking about today.
Interesting. I
Makes
think that would for a lot of people that would explain a lot of things, and simply even just going to get tested on a deeper level would help bring a peace of mind too, because then if we like Heather and we already understand like the energetic side, and we
Mm,
know what our body is communicating to us on, a mental, emotional, spiritual level. But when it comes to the gut, I ain't got
mm,
the foggiest clue. I
mm.
can go in there and know that something like there's an energetic block there. I know it's there. I just don't know what it is. So I think that could help a lot of people in that are in that space as well. I think when we zoom out across this whole series that we've explored so far, we're looking at a very layered system of communication: the brain, the body, the gut, the hormones, the nervous system, history,
Mhm.
experience, all of that. And what most people experience as emotional struggle is often the output of that system trying to communicate something internally. The goal is not to reduce it down to one explanation. It's just to understand it well enough so that we can stop misreading the signal and and thinking that it's and that we're like failing, because once you understand that system, you stop fighting yourself and you start working with it. It's like you stop swimming against the current and you start swimming with it, and that is opens up a whole new world, I think.
I
So
couldn't tell you how many people, I could not even tell you how many people, and mostly females, and mostly this demographic, but also just between 35 and 55, that have said, I thought I was crazy, or I've even been told I was crazy. But like, you figure all this stuff out and you lay it out for them and you connect all these dots, and it's like, I'm not crazy. I'm like, no, you're not
no,
crazy. Like there's just nobody looking at all this stuff and educating you. So I had to throw that in there because yeah, it can get frustrating. It can start people start losing hope. People start feeling like literally crazy that
absolutely.
man, something's going on. Why isn't anybody figuring out what's going on?
And then they even become scared to reach out, become vulnerable to ask
Yeah,
for support because they've
yeah,
been thinking they're crazy, or people have been telling them this for so long that it's just become a new identity.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd love, Heather and Dr. Scott, I'd love to open up any last thoughts for from both of you, because I think this intersection, the gut health, the nervous system, neurodivergence, hormone shifts, all that, and the is where a lot of people are silently struggling without language for it. So I'm curious, what are each of you seeing most often right now in this overlap between the physiology, emotional experience, and regulation capacity? Feel free to just
Well, I just want to
brain
add
dump
something
here.
to something you just said about being educated and going with the current versus against it. And I just want to say that like you don't have to know exactly what's going on with your system personally. Like you don't need to know everything Dr. Scott knows. You don't need to know everything that, your therapist knows. All you need to know to open that door to getting the help that you need is that you're not broken, you're not
Mhm.
crazy. These things are happening, especially women, women's intuition, and women are in touch with their bodies. I get so frustrated when I go to the doctor, and I can't wait till the last episode of the series because I'm gonna be a rant episode for me, I think. But but when you go to the doctor and they again tell you that you're crazy, like, listen, I know my body. I've been inside this body for 41 years. I know what it feels like. I'm well aware of the fact that I'm having an issue and the fact that you don't believe me or you're telling me I'm crazy or my labs are normal. Okay, well, fine. Then figure out why I'm not normal. And I'm saying that just to use the same word twice because I am normal. I'm not broken. I'm whole. I just need to figure out what's going on. And like Dr. Scott said, finding the right person who's willing to look at all of the systems together is so important because you're not crazy. You're not broken. The body changes as you get older. The body changes when, life happens, when you change your diet, things happen. It's a ripple effect. And just knowing that it's not your fault necessarily. I mean, if you're eating donuts every day and, you know, drinking alcohol like it's water. But I digress. It is important to just be aware that there is something happening. You know your body. Find someone, the appropriate person who is willing to help you figure out what that is. That's all.
Anything from you, Dr. Scott?
I just piggybacking on these last couple minutes, the most rewarding thing about what I do is just seeing hope restored in people, just because, like I said, it happens almost on a daily basis. Someone is feeling crazy or feeling hopeless because they've been here, 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 here. Nothing's working, or maybe it helps a little, but it's like, man, there's got to be something else, or they're whatever it may be. Everybody's story is different. So to actually be able to see hope restored in people's eyes is the best part of what I do. Now, the reality is, you guys can know, I can know what's going on biologically, physiologically, energetically, spiritually, all the things. It's not going to make it easy to change it,
You're
right?
right.
There's no magic pill.
Mhm.
If there is and someone finds it, I better be on your phone call because I'm going to
Yeah.
invest in it really quickly. Okay? All my life savings. Now, it's just not out there. So, and I think um, some people really, let me put it this way. We live in a culture of instant gratification, right? So it's so many of us just want change here and now, but the work finding out what's going on is the first piece of the puzzle, which is already being missed in our healthcare system most of the time. Once you figure out what's going on, then the work begins, though, and it is a journey. It's definitely, the old saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah, most of the time it's like an ultra marathon or a triathlon, or maybe both of those back to back,
Right.
right? Now, I don't want to scare people off, but the thing is you see progress, but it really is a journey of change, right? We've all been through it. And it's so rewarding and worthwhile when you do take it because it's like, think about quality of life and like, what's your why? Like, why do you need to get healthier? For me, it was my little kids. Like, I mean, I was 10 years ago, I was coming home completely anxious, completely chronically fatigued. I was like, they don't deserve that. I need to figure this out. This is why I do what I do now because nobody was figuring it out for me. They were all like, well, you're a picture of health. There's nothing wrong with you. So, yeah, well, am I crazy? Like, what's going on with me?
Yep.
So, I have this same story, y'all. And it's like, yeah, like I said, just there is hope. There are answers. You just need the right team of people.
Mhm.
Finding your tribe.
That's all I got.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being back with us tonight. And Heather,
Yeah.
as always, you're always showing up for me. Next week is it the autism and epilepsy
I think so, yeah.
intersection?
Mhm.
I'll be speaking a lot on that one. So
Okay.
that is my lane.
Yeah.
Are you going to be here next week, Dr. Scott?
You know what? I didn't even look forward to it. Probably.
Okay. All right. Well,
What is
then
what is
we'll
next week? May 14th. Oh
Man.
shoot, no, I'm flying. I'll be in the air. I'll be in an airplane. Dang it. That
Lo-
stinks because I really wanted to do that topic. I love that topic. I just had a I'll just say this real quick because I won't be here next week. So I just did some social, this was a couple weeks ago. But I have a little 7-year old, this is my most recent one, autistic little boy. And his dad is so awesome because he's like, I'm gonna do anything because I've been everywhere, done everything, and no one's figuring this out. And so, I mean, just long story short is he's like, I will do anything, I'll pay anything. So we ran, man, you guys should have seen. I mean, it's not like it's crazy. It was probably $3,000 worth of labs. I mean, that's a lot of money, but still, to find the answers, this little boy, I kid you guys not, 7 years old, um, highest heavy metal toxicity I've ever seen. Okay. Highest oxidative stress level, which is basically cellular inflammation I've ever seen, even in adults that have been like very sick. What else was it? His gut was an absolute wreck, like absolute wreck. And so anyway, we did all these labs. He has SIBO, he's got leaky gut, he's got all these things. And it's like, so
Wow.
here's what happened is like you get all this data, then the work begins. So we put a treatment plan in place, and this just happened a week or two ago. Maybe it was last week. I got a message from his dad, and we just started the like plan, the treatment plan. And again, he goes to a therapist and he does other things too. But his dad messaged me and said, we just got out of our therapy appointment. He's been working with this same therapist for years now, and he's like, he said she told us tonight that he is 25% better in all cognitive markers than he was a month ago. Guess when we
Wow.
started treatments? A
A month.
month ago. It was like goosebumps down my whole spine.
That's
So it's like with
awesome.
the spectrum stuff, I just love it because it's so rewarding to see these sweet little innocent, and again, I know it's adults too, but like mostly I work with kids in that realm. And it's just super fascinating stuff. So
Well, I
anyway.
got lots to say about it.
Yeah, I know. You'll have to send me the recording so I can watch it since I won't be here.
I
So
I
I probably would
actually
learn a lot. I'll learn a lot from you guys too.
I actually was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 8, then with ADHD at 10. And then now it wasn't until just 2 years ago, I'm 42, about to be 43. It wasn't until about 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe even a year ago. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. I I don't know if it was an aha moment or what happened, but it was realizing that I was entering perimenopause. So I had to have been 40, um, because that's when I realized what was really going on. And that's when it hit me. And I was like, oh my God, I realized that there was an intersection between epilepsy and autism. And I didn't know that. And I'm like, whoa, back up. I was epileptic as a child. So I went down the rabbit hole. I mean, I went deep. And I realized I was like, oh, I think there's some correlation here. So we'll talk more about it next week. But
Uh,
yeah, I got lots to say. So
well, thanks for having me again. Sorry I'll
you're
miss next
welcome.
week, but
Will
guys,
you be back for the last one
you'll
then?
crush it without me.
The last one, I
Uh,
believe, is the
the
21st.
21st.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like I should be able to do that one for
Oh,
sure.
good. I was hoping
Perfect.
you would be here for that one. Because we're talking
What's
about
that one?
doctors
What's
who
that topic?
gaslight, gaslighting doctors,
Yeah. Oh
misdiagnosing,
yeah. That's oh, I
diagnosis.
love. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to rein it in on that one.
Oh yeah, that's my lane. I
We
have
I
a
all
lot to
actually
want
say
just
to.
about that
I
one.
actually just did a presentation just like 3 months ago on that. It was like medical gaslighting, and it's like it's
Oh, it's
phenomenal.
awful.
What people, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yep. Okay, I'll see you guys then.
All right.
Have a great trip.
All right, bye bye.
See ya.